Welcome back to the channel. If you like this kind of update, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Now, something huge is unfolding in our nation, and it's the kind of story that affects politics, justice, and our democracy, so stay with me. Here's the deal. Nnamdi Kanu, leader of indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has just made a bold move in his long-running court case. He has formally listed 23 witnesses for his defense, and many of those witnesses are top-level politicians, governors, military, and intelligence officials. Among the names, Babajide Sanwo Olu, Governor of Lagos State; Nyesom Wike, Minister of the FCT; former Governor of Rivers State; Dave Umahi, Minister of Works; ex-Governor of Ebonyi; former AGF Abubakar Malami; former Defense Minister Theophilus Danjuma; and former Kowas Tukur Buratai. And here's another big twist. Kanu's legal team has withdrawn their services, and Kanu says he will now represent himself in court. Alright, let's break this down, what it means, and why it matters to each of us. First, what's the background? Kanu is facing a terrorism and treason-related trial. The government accuses him of inciting violence and secession through IPOB. His trial has dragged on for years, with many twists and delays. Now he is saying, I will open my defense, and I'm bringing these 23 witnesses. His motion says he will call both ordinary witnesses and vital compellable witnesses under the law. Second, what's surprising, noteworthy about this? The caliber of the witnesses is high. Governors, ministers, top military, intel officers. That means the defense wants to go deep. The fact that Kanu is now representing himself suggests he feels very strongly about this direction, or perhaps doesn't trust the process with his previous lawyers. The listing of such big names puts pressure on the court, on the political class, and maybe the public. It raises the stakes. Third, how might this affect the political environment? Let's talk about the camp of Bola Tinubu, President of Nigeria. When you hear fire in Tinubu's camp, from the headline, what that suggests is there may be turbulence among those who align politically with Tinubu, especially if figures tied to the ruling class or those within the government are witnessing in such a high-profile case. It could ripple out into party politics, alliances, tensions between regions. Also, for everyday Nigerians, this reminds us how legal battles and politics intertwine when a courtroom case features major governors and ministers. It's not just about one person. It's about the system, the rule of law, accountability. Fourth, what should we watch out for next? Will the court approve Kanu's list of 23 witnesses, especially the compellable ones? Will any of those listed refuse to testify? Will we see legal objections? What timelines will the court give for the defense to finish? Kanu asked for 90 days, citing the volume and nature of evidence. How will this affect public perception? Will the government's prosecution come under more scrutiny? Will this raise fundamental questions about how we run such trials? Will this case exacerbate regional and ethnic tensions, particularly given IPOB, Southeast politics, the whole secessionist dimension? Fifth, what does this mean for you and me? It's a reminder, every citizen should care about the rule of law. When someone's defense includes high officials, we must ask, is the justice system being fair? Are powerful people insulated? It means we should stay informed. This is not just other people's politics. It can affect national cohesion, the credibility of institutions, and trust in our system. It's also a moment to reflect. What do we expect from our leaders and institutions? Transparency, fairness, accountability. Before I go on, if you're finding this interesting, let me remind you again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you'll get notified for more updates like this. Your engagement keeps this going. Thank you. Now, a little related perspective. Consider how this connects with past events. For example, in the 2020 Lekki shooting juncture, the then governor of Lagos State, Sanwo Olu, had to deal with serious accusations of state violence. So the fact that Sanwo Olu is being listed as a witness in Kanu's case links those earlier tensions with present dynamics. It shows the continuity. Political actions, protests, accusations of state power misuse, trial of separatist movements. We also must watch how this plays into regional dynamics. The Southeast, the Southwest, the North, how they view power, how they view justice. If someone from the Southeast claims political or legal disadvantage or alleges bias, how will the system respond? Because when big names are involved, trust matters. Let me give you a hypothetical scenario. Imagine one of the witnesses refuses to appear, claiming threat or intimidation. That could slow the trial, provoke more protests, fuel narratives of power abuse. Or imagine one of them gives explosive testimony that implicates others. That could be headline material and shift everything. So yes, this story is evolving. What do I think might happen? Just speculation. The defense might try to delay or prolong proceedings by calling many witnesses, which could suit Kanu's strategy of buying time. Politics might intervene. Some of the listed witnesses might seek to negotiate or avoid being cross-examined publicly. The prosecution might push back, objecting to some names on the list or their relevance. If the case drags on, public fatigue could set in, which might reduce pressure. But with social media today, it could also keep flashing. In conclusion, we are at a turning point in this case. The headline said, "Fire in Tinubu's camp. Kanu shocks Nigerians. Wike, Sanwo Olu, 22 politicians go to court." That's dramatic. And actually, what is happening is that a large number of high-profile witnesses are being pulled into one of the most watched trials in Nigeria, and a separatist leader is taking the fight to the courtroom in a bold way. For the ordinary Nigerian watching from home, this is more than legal drama. It's about how our country handles dissent, how our courts work, how our leaders are held to account. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture, because when you hear fire in Tinubu's camp, it's not necessarily about physical fire, but the political heat building up around the government. You see, anything that involves names like Wike, Sanwo Olu, Umahi, all members of the ruling structure, will definitely cause reactions within the corridors of power. People will start asking, why are these names appearing in Nnamdi Kanu's case? What do they have to do with it? Some insiders believe that Kanu's legal team might be trying to expose certain actions or communications that took place during the heat of the IPOB crisis, things that could show the state's involvement or negligence. For instance, there were many reports back then of military raids, killings, and human rights abuses in the Southeast. If some of these witnesses are called to explain their roles or what they know, it could open up old wounds. Now think about it. Nnamdi Kanu is already saying he'll defend himself. That alone is powerful. It means he believes he can stand in court, cross-examine government officials, and possibly reveal information that Nigerians haven't heard before. For him, this is not just a trial. It's a chance to tell his side of the story, live and direct. But politically, this puts pressure on Tinubu's government. Remember, Wike is Tinubu's ally, one of the strongest political figures from the south. Sanwo Olu is Tinubu's protege, his political son. So imagine if any of them gets dragged into court discussions or media attention connected to a sensitive case like this. It can cause internal friction, and in Nigerian politics, even small tensions can grow fast. Now, let's look at what this means for the Southeast. Many people in that region have long complained about marginalization, feeling excluded from national leadership, development, and justice. For them, Kanu's case is not just about him personally. It represents something bigger, a cry for recognition, for fair treatment. So when they hear he's ready to stand his ground, and even call big names, it energizes that sentiment. At the same time, some Nigerians from other regions might see it differently. They might say, "Let the law take its course," or "Why should politicians be dragged into it?" So it becomes a national talking point, and that's where the fire really comes from. Different opinions, divided loyalties, political calculations. Please, as we're talking about this, like this video now if you're following, and subscribe so you can get my next update when the court resumes and we see what happens next. Now, there's another layer, the security dimension. Because if Kanu truly calls military and intelligence officers to testify, that could expose sensitive information. For example, about how operations were conducted or how intelligence on IPOB activities was gathered. Usually, these are things governments like to keep classified, so the court will have to decide what can be said in open session and what can't. Let me give you a small scenario. Imagine General Buratai or former AGF Malami being called to testify. That's headline material, and it could shake public perception about how this case was handled from day one. Some analysts are already saying that the government might try to avoid that by negotiating or finding a political solution instead of allowing it to go that far. You know, Nigeria, sometimes, when cases start to look uncomfortable, we start hearing about out-of-court settlement or political resolution. But as of now, there's no sign of that. Meanwhile, let's not forget Kanu's lawyers recently withdrew from the case. That means he's probably not satisfied with how things were going. Maybe he felt they weren't representing his interests well. Or maybe, as some sources say, it's part of a deliberate strategy to take control and speak for himself. Either way, it's risky, but also bold. Now, this next part is what really gets Nigerians talking. What if the court actually allows all 23 witnesses to appear? That's going to be one of the longest and most dramatic trials in recent history. Every hearing will trend online, and every name mentioned will cause political reactions. People will read meaning into everything. Already, social media is buzzing, some saying Kanu is being silenced, others saying justice must prevail. Some groups have even started calling for international observers to monitor the case. So, we're looking at a situation that could draw global attention again, just like during the 2021 arrest and extradition saga. Now, speaking of that, let's remember how this all started. In 2021, Kanu was rearrested after leaving Nigeria years earlier. The government said he jumped bail, but Kanu insisted he was abducted abroad and brought back illegally. That argument is still part of the court record today. So, if he now brings witnesses who were part of the government or connected to security operations, it might tie back to how he was captured. This is why people are saying the case is not just about terrorism, it's also about human rights and government conduct. It could reveal things about how the Nigerian state deals with dissent and whether due process was followed. Now, let's talk a bit about public trust, because at the end of the day, that's what's at stake. Nigerians want to see fairness. If the court handles this transparently, it could rebuild confidence. But if people feel the process is manipulated, it could deepen division. And honestly, our country doesn't need more division right now. So, in the coming weeks, we need to watch how both sides play this. The government will try to maintain control and protect its image. Kanu will try to use the platform to push his message. And the people, you and me, will be the ones judging through what we see and hear. Before I round off this segment, please, if you're still watching, like the video, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Tell me what you think. Should Kanu be allowed to call all those witnesses? Do you think it will change anything? I'd love to hear your opinion. Now, let's take it a bit deeper. Let's talk about how this could affect 2027 politics, Tinubu's image, and the future of the Southeast political agenda.